Hey, welcome to another Valley Forged. I'm going to come at this a little different because anybody can just type in something to AI these days and kind of get an overview of maybe what we're talking about. But from a practical standpoint, from somebody who actually has used these types of machines and can give you some thoughts, because many of you think, oh, hey, I've got a diode laser, I want to upgrade, or I want to buy a laser, I'm not quite sure what to do, and I want to get some honest advice. And this is difficult these days because everything feels like a sales trip, which is true. It's actually true, and you need to realize that. And that's not always a bad thing. I mean, I think we wouldn't know about a lot of these lasers if it wasn't for the laser companies trying to, get their products out there. That's good. But maybe look at people who have a good track record or people that you trust. And there are definitely a lot. Most of the people that have a laser business are doing this because they love it, because they love lasers and this is what they want to do. So generally going to be a little bit more trustworthy than somebody who just makes review videos, in my opinion. This is an opinion coming over time, though, having watched pretty much every channel that I can come across, right? And another thing is when it comes to looking at all four of these that I'm going to talk about today, CO2, diode, UV, fiber, any of those, I'm going to say try to find somebody that is using the machine daily or quite often. Those are the people who are going to give you the best advice. A laser may work great, a couple of weeks or whatever, but they may get tired of it, or it may stop working or not continue to do what they thought it was going to. But somebody who actually runs a business or does videos showing you how to do stuff on a certain laser consistently is probably going to have the best advice. And in this video, I am going to kind of go over the basics of what each does so that you can get a good idea. But the reason for me going through all of this is because I actually got a comment from somebody who has a 40-watt diode laser and is maybe looking to upgrade. And it just brought out all these questions, which a lot of you might actually have as well. Because it feels good to, you look around and you see, oh, this can do this and this can do that, and I want to do that. But you also have to realize, maybe they don't do it as well as you think they do, or maybe they cost a lot of money to do maybe one tiny little thing that maybe you're not even really that into, and you buy a $5,000 laser and realize, oh, I should have just stuck with what I had. And that's where we can start with diode laser. Most of the people out there have diode lasers, and there's a good reason for that. Not only can they do like 80% of everything that any other laser can do, they're usually a bit less expensive. They're way easier to deal with as far as maintenance goes and just things to think about. I would say it's good for entry level, but I run 90% of my business on a diode laser, which I have back there, and the AtomSat Craft. I just love it. I'm kind of surprised everybody doesn't have one, and this isn't a sponsored video by anybody. I do my work every day, and this is the one that I choose to use. It's the one I choose to have. And I have a CO2 laser, the ValleyMaster, and it's a wonderful, wonderful machine. It's probably the best CO2 desktop machine I've ever seen, ever heard of. It's so close to being as easy as a diode that it really kind of makes the cut for me, but it has its downsides, and I'm going to get into that. Well, CO2 versus diode versus fiber laser versus UV. The thing about the diode laser, and I love 40 watts, mine's a 40 watt, and it really was a game changer for me, is that it can do 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch, like 3 to 6 millimeter wood, mostly plywood is what I'm working with, super, super well. The laser size, as you get more power with the diode laser, the larger the size of that dot gets. And say 60 watts hasn't necessarily been a super good dot size yet. And, things are always improving. When you get to the higher side of the diode lasers, most people enjoy like 40 watts. You can get some pretty detailed engraving, but you also have great cutting. Now, 20 watt is also a really, really great way to go, especially if you're going to working with mostly 3 millimeter wood. You could, always cut twice and then just glue them together, or you could do 2 passes. There's a lot of different ways that you could cut a little bit thicker. But I would suggest if you're doing any higher than 6 millimeter often, that you probably are going to be looking at a CO2 laser. Also, something to think about with a diode laser is the size of your bed, how big of the thing you want to work with. But also realize the larger of a thing you're working with, the more money it's going to cost, and the more, chances you have of messing it up. So it could end up costing you a lot of money to be able to make huge things. But I'm a huge fan of diode lasers, and I think that they are a great, great place to start for everybody, and maybe even a place to end for a lot of us. I will get into CO2 now. As far as the difference between diode and CO2, once, I made videos a long time ago, diode versus CO2, and I put this little clip in. I want you to write below, what do you think this other guy is thinking? Not the one answering the question, but the other guy. I just look at his face and it always cracks me up. So write down what you think he's thinking, and I want to see if it matches up with what's in my head as well. But I think it's a good explanation, so I tend to put it in the videos. There's so much more to it, of course.
I guess from my perspective, you can go really technical, but in a nutshell, one CO2 laser is a tube full of gas, and very high voltages ignite, cause the gas to fluoresce and produce a laser. Mm-hmm. A diode laser is like a component. It's like a solid state component. It's got little piece of material in it, a special compound. You apply electricity to it, and it produces a laser beam. So they both produce beams of light. One uses a gas, one uses a solid state component. They're basically the difference between them technically. They produce light at different wavelengths. All light has a certain wavelength. So when you see something blue, it's a certain wavelength. When you see something red, it's a certain wavelength. Diode lasers generally, when we're talking about them for our stuff, work in the visible spectrum. So they're a blue laser, for example. It's one of the most common ones, whereas CO2 lasers are invisible to the naked eye because they're infrared. They work in a different frequency. And because of these differences in terms of frequency, they affect materials differently.
CO2 lasers are a bit more complicated. They usually cost a bit more money, but you can go way up in power and be able to do things like 1/2 inch, if you want to, or make full-size sheets of plywood. There's a lot that you could do. Just remember, you're looking at a lot more expense in every way. Also, more complication. You have a laser tube now. That laser tube's got to shoot that beam all the way around and then come down onto your piece of whatever you're cutting or engraving. That can enter in a lot more difficult things, right? Even this ValleyMaster. One of the great things about it is it showed up the laser. It has a red dot pointer, which, I'm not going to get into this video, but certainly makes things a lot easier to line up your beam. I didn't have to do that. It was already set when it got here. It was super great. But each one of those mirrors, it needs to be cleaned once in a while because the smoke is passing through that whole chamber. So you're going to get smoke on your mirrors after a while. Well, I'm cleaning that and one got out of adjustment. I've got to readjust it. That takes me an hour on a machine that has a red dot pointer that's fairly easy to do. I can't tell you, with some of the other cheaper or, just generic CO2 lasers, I've spent hours trying to adjust the beams. Anybody with an old K40, know what I mean? Oh my goodness, sometimes it's just such a pain. Also, maintenance. These are things that you get to get a bigger, like 100-watt CO2 laser. Realize if you're not going to spend 20, 30 grand on one, you're going to have to kind of become your own expert and kind of learn how to fix it, how to do things. This is the one type of laser that really, if you're not going to spend a ton of money and you're going to try and go cheap, you're going to have to know what you're doing. And this is my opinion. Far less with a desktop like this, like ValleyMaster. It's getting pretty close to Diode level of low maintenance and being able to just easily set it up, things like that. But still, much more complicated than my Atom Statcraft, which, again, I typically use it because I just fire it up and it just makes whatever I want. I can't argue with that. But with a CO2 laser, now you're able to do acrylic of any kind. A diode laser struggles on most acrylics. Black acrylic, it does great. In fact, sometimes better than a CO2 laser, which I showed in my stencil video, this last stencil video I did. Really kind of blew me away. I would have been making stencils for a long time had I known. But transparent acrylic or colored acrylics, you're just going to need a CO2 laser. It's night and day how much cleaner it is. I've made videos in the past about using a diode laser for colored acrylics and things. It will work on a lot of them. You just got to know which ones. That's kind of why I get my acrylic from Craft Closet. Link below, of course, but because they will tell you, they have a thing on their site that shows you which ones are okay for diodes and which ones are for CO2s. But in general, you're just going to get a much better result and much faster result with a CO2 on acrylic. And of course, if you want to make rubber stamps and things like that. So I make rubber stamps, I make acrylic stamps, and these are typical things that I'm going to use the CO2 for. Then we get into the big question. Everybody, even my brother, like, can it do metal? And so then we get into the fiber lasers. Just remember, when I get into fiber and UV lasers, we are talking about a pretty small, little section, maybe a 4x4 inch section that you're going to be able to use. Whereas, with the diodes or CO2s, it's very easy to get into a much larger area for the same or less amount of money. So I'm not going to repeat that over and over. So I just want to get you to understand with the fiber or a UV laser that we're going to talk about, we're talking about small areas. So if you want to work on something big, this is not an area that I would be looking at. Fiber is the one that you would want if you want to do metal. But again, everybody talks about doing metal. Really understand what we're talking about when we're talking about doing metal. I personally don't believe, as much as I love lasers, that lasers are amazing for metal, especially for the price that it costs to be able to do it. Marking small pieces of metal or light engraving, it's very good at. And it can be extremely fast. So there are certain things that if you really want to do them are perfect with a fiber laser. And so you may want to spend $5,000 on a fiber laser to be able to do exactly what you want. There's one called the MOPA, which I had here before, MOPA fiber laser, which can make some colors into stainless steel and things like that. I think that's really cool, to show all that, but the practical uses of it are very, very limited. And I would really, really try and find somebody who's using it on a constant basis that's actually selling those items that are colored on a MOPA and get your advice from that person. That would be the way to go. Same again for everything, but fiber lasers are really, really great at what they do. Generally talking about metal, stone, maybe some leather. You want to mark that. It's mostly marking for these things. Of course, with stone, you're not cutting stone, but it's very specific. And then came along the UV laser, which differs from a fiber laser because the fiber laser is infrared. So you see IR modules that you can get for a diode or something. I usually don't recommend those. For various reasons. Expense for what you get is one of them. But we're talking about infrared with the fiber laser, and then we're talking about UV, of course, it's in the name, UV laser. So it's not heat-based, which completely makes it different than using a fiber laser, a diode, or a CO2. It's just such a different thing. It's such a new thing. It's so cool. And it allows you to do a lot of things you can't do with the others. So again, it's a small little area, but you want to do something like deep engraves in glass or engraves in glass. It's kind of your way to go. And this is super cool. In fact, I was watching a Clack Shack video not too long ago. He's talking about the comm marker Omni. It's a 5 watt, but it's still his go-to for this type of work. And the reason is because it can mark on just about anything. Again, you're not going to get your deep engraves in leather. It doesn't do denim, I think, but it does a lot of fabrics. It just does a lot of everything. And so I think a lot of that market is going towards UV just because of the flexibility and the fact that if you have already a diode laser, now you can maybe add a lot more kind of little things like even ceramic to what you're doing. It does tend to be very good at very small, nice details. And so I would look into that if this is something you're looking for. But again, with a diode or a CO2 laser, you're going to be able to make bigger projects. And so in the end, I would say 90% of you are probably going to want, well, maybe 80% of you are probably going to want to start out with a diode laser. You could do so much with it. I started with a diode laser and I'm finishing with a diode laser. It's because I would rather have 2 of them than, one huge CO2 laser that I have to deal with. Now, for me, having the Atom Statcraft and the IKEA Master is the perfect combination. I can do just about everything that I want to do. And I'll probably add a UV laser, not because I need one. In fact, if I had to pay my own money, I probably wouldn't buy one. Because I already have so many things that I can do with the ones I have. And I can't even barely keep up with that. And you guys know, I'm working on another video right now, just completely different thing that I just thought up. And I think that's the beauty of lasers, is that you can just about you can do so many things that you just need to really get your information. You really just need to get your imagination flowing. In fact, I'm going to take the next couple of days off, and they're just imagination days. And I kind of recommend that for you if you can. Get off your phone, get off your normal cycle of the things that you do. Put pen to paper and just kind of write down what your thoughts are. Use your imagination. I haven't even gone over a quarter of all the differences and things when it comes to all of these different kinds of lasers. But I just wanted to give you some food for thought of, in my opinion, having used most of these for a long time, just things you should be thinking about. It always comes down to the basics of what do I want to use it for? If you don't really think deeply, you can end up spending a lot of money and get something you really, really aren't going to use. So I kind of wanted to save you for that. Write down some comments below for people so that maybe they can, personal experience is the best kind. Did you start out with a diode laser and then switch to UV or something and you're super happy? Or did you buy one and say, hey, I really don't use it that much or whatever? So, help people out. I think that's what we're here for. And I'll see you in the next one. Love y'all.